Herzlich willkommen zurück hier bei unserem Thementag. Wir hoffen, Sie hatten spannende Diskussionen am Morgen und etwas Zeit, sich zu erholen über Mittag oder die Diskussion fortzusetzen. Es ist mir eine große Freude, Ihnen meine Kollegin Annette Nyquist vorzustellen für dieses Input am Nachmittag. Annette ist Special Advisor for Education für Save the Children Norwegen. Und sie hat 6 Jahre Erfahrung für Save the Children Norway, wo sie verschiedene Projekte, besonders im östlichen Afrika, technisch begleitet im Bildungsbereich. Davor hat Annette 10 Jahre für UNICEF in verschiedenen Ländern vor Ort gearbeitet, auch immer mit dem Fokus Bildung. Also wir haben eine große Expertin heute hier und sie wird uns erläutern, wie sich die Qualität in der Lehreraus- und Weiterbildung messen lässt und was wir als Save the Children hier für Ansätze benutzen. Vielen Dank.
I can use this one. So, guten Tag. Ich heiße Annette, ich bin 15 Jahre alt. That's when I stopped learning my German. So I'm sorry that you will have now a session in English. It's not my first language and it's not your first language, at least not for the most of you. So I hope that we can bear with each other and let me know if I talk too fast. So I have been given this opportunity, and thank you so much for inviting me to present some aspects on how to measure the quality of teacher professional development. So in this presentation, I will give you some perspective of how to measure teachers and in the context of your RESI recommendations and how we work in Save the Children. I will first explain a little bit of why we're measuring teacher competencies and how, and then a little bit about how. So in Save the Children, we have defined 5 principles for teacher professional development. And if you look at them, they are quite similar to what was presented here for the RESI conference a little bit earlier today. And I'm happy to see that we're all kind of on the same page when it comes to teacher professional development. So we have put these principles into a context where that number 1 is not something that goes beyond number 5 or number 3 and so on. We put all of these principles at the same levels, and we should think about them when we think about teacher professional development. And that, of course, that influences how we want to measure our teachers as well. So when we are putting in a principle or a recommendation that it needs to be based on teachers' needs, our measurements also needs to be looking into what teachers need and so on. So you have a recommendation, I think number 5, if I'm not mistaken, that also tells us that teacher professional development needs to be put into a context of a larger educational focus. And in Save the Children, we have defined something that we call the quality learning framework, which is kind of our understanding of quality education. And one of those foundations is number 3, which is teaching and learning, and that's where our teacher professional development fits in. Because teacher professional development should be focused on the child, which is in the center. We want the child to learn to read and write and to know its numeracy, and also to enhance their well-being. Teacher and teacher professional development is very key in that. So this is kind of the background to our teacher professional development and also how we measure. There are quite a lot of challenges of tracking teacher professional development. And we know that there are a lot of discussions around, and I participated in a session now just before lunch where also this was a topic for question. So we know that it's difficult. We know that we put forward standards that and competencies that are defined by the ministry in the countries where we work. And if we don't have these kind of competencies already defined, we make an agreement to which kind of competencies we want to focus on. But these, of course, needs to be agreed upon. And there are debates around, like, how do we then measure the teachers? Can they self-assess themselves? Can we trust that information? Can we trust information from observing a class? Will that give us that type of information that we need? And we know that interoperability is a challenge when we're doing measurement. So we know that there are a lot of challenges, and my presentation will not be something that is, this is it, but it will maybe nurture a debate that we can have later, and it's an input for that. So, when we look at measuring competencies, we can look at three different maybe ways of finding that input. We can look at the competencies and measure them directly when we kind of observe in a classroom. We have a test or we survey the teachers, so we kind of get that information. We can get it indirectly through learning outcomes, understanding what the students have learned. Teacher self-reflection might be an indirect way of getting the input. Or we can ask a third party, parents or head teachers, and the children themselves, of how the teachers are. But I think that you all know quite a bit about a lesson observation, and it's kind of the first tool I think that we think about when we're doing a measurement of teachers, because that's where you see the teacher in practice. And this is done all over the world. It's done in Norway, it's done most probably in Switzerland as well, and it's done in Mozambique and in Niger and DRC and all over. And teachers are getting more and more used to having people in the classroom doing classroom observation. But we need to have some kind of consideration for choosing which kind of tools that we use for lesson observation. What do we want to look for? We can't look at everything, because we can videotape it and then go into every single little detail. But we kind of need to kind of decide if we want to kind of do a diagnostic kind of situational analysis of what is happening in the classroom. If to what degree has teachers improved against the competencies, whether the teacher have met the competencies that they should, which is more of a summative way. Maybe we want to check the inputs, like what are the teachers doing. We want to look at the outputs, how are the children responding. We want to look at outcomes, what have the children learned, and so on. And we can have another consideration, which is more what kind of teaching competencies do we look for? Is it the subject? And here we had a comment in the last group, is kind of teachers don't really know what they're teaching, maybe. So maybe we need to use the classroom observation to actually understand what the teachers know about the subject that they're teaching. or we want to understand, do they know how to teach that subject? Or do they know how effective ways of organizing the classroom? In Save the Children, we have made a summary for our colleagues, and that they can use with all partners, of pros and cons with different kind of methodologies of classroom observations. And that can be shared with you if you're interested. This is, for example, one way of looking at the subject-specific classroom observation, where we look at literacy, and if the teacher is using the right methods to teach literacy. We have Stallings, a very well-known lesson observation tool. And this looks at kind of the amount of time that teachers spend teaching and the learners spend learning. And maybe this is more looking at the input level that I shared earlier, that what is the teacher actually doing in the classroom. So it can kind of track how effectively the teacher is keeping the student engaged and how much time they spend on classroom management, for example. And all of this kind of information is providing us input to improve our teacher professional development. And here's, for example, some of the information that you can find through Stallings. Just kind of for the one to the left for you, where you can see what kind of amount of time they are using in active learning and passive teaching. You see the gray, this is a kind of a good teacher using a lot of time teaching and very little time, the little time that is in gray, which is very, I don't think you can see, but it's a very little time. You can see that's a very little, two small rubrics that is spent on classroom management and just organizing. The rest is used more or less on teaching. And the one to the right is looking at the different kind of methodologies spent on teaching. We have another tool called Teach that is also a very, very interesting tool that the World Bank has developed. And this is free. The other, that's the same with the other tools as well. It's very practical in the way and kind of very special that it goes into what's going actually on in the classroom at the primary school level, that is, and looking both at the cognitive aspects and the social-emotional skills that students developed. So it kind of provides a very good addition to what the Stallings also provide. It's developed for low and middle income countries, and it has a very complementary toolkit. But we all need to also kind of keep into consideration that lesson observation isn't everything. So it will give you a snapshot, it will give you input, but it might just provide you some parts of the picture. So I want to just to also to add a little bit from the way that we in Save the Children is the tools that we're adding on to the classroom observation to make the understanding, to improve our understanding of teachers and their quality. So what we have developed is something that we call a teacher competency survey, and then we have something called a teacher competency profile. And I will just share with you very shortly what that is. The teacher competency survey is linked up with head teacher survey, a teacher self-assessment, and a student survey. So it gives us input from not only the teacher, but also the head teacher and the student. The competency survey is developed based on the competencies that is defined for teachers in that country. And we're kind of using the format, the one that I'm sharing here. It's kind of a format where we use the Kobo tools, which makes it easy to administrate at a later stage. And we're using the same kind of format for the rating, which is a four-leveled measuring of their teaching competencies. So we have a beginning level, a developing level, a proficient level, and an advanced level. So, as you can see, this is something that both the students and the head teachers and the teachers are using these types of levels when they're assessing the teacher. But we know that also that these levels might not be familiar to everyone. So what we have designed is a kind of a workshop together with the teachers, so that they discuss and understand these levels before they are given the survey that they fill out. And that is because if you think about yourself and your competencies, like, are you good at teaching mathematics, for example? Would you say that you're beginning, developing, proficient, and advanced? Some will put their level down, some will put their level up. But if you don't really know what is the criteria behind. But if you know the criteria behind, maybe you will have a better understanding and rate yourself better. And this, of course, also goes for when we're discussing this with the head teachers and the students themselves. And this, it reduces the risk of inflated ratings. So we're using the same when we're having the competency profile. So the competency survey is something that you can use in a baseline or an end line, a midterm, and you can use that with a sample of teachers. The teacher competency profile is more of an individual tool where the teachers use this together with their mentors in their training. And there is for one teaching module, the teachers first, of course, rate themselves at the starting level. Then they can track if they attended workshop, if they tested this in the classroom, if they've been observed in the lesson, and then at the end of a blended cycle of learning, they rate themselves towards the end, what is their current level. And what we have included at the end here is kind of their way of assessing if they are improved or not. And this does not really relate to if they have scored at the starting level at some point and at the current level at the next point. But maybe they see that although I haven't kind of jumped to the next level, I have improved anyway. So I feel like, yes, I'm on the way of improving. So this is done together with mentors when they're doing their blended teacher professional development courses. And this, of course, can be used also. You can take this data and use and kind of track it in your systems. So it can be used in addition or without doing the teacher competency survey. You don't need to use both. You can choose to do either or you can use them together. It might be interesting. We haven't come this far yet, so to see the kind of the difference of using the survey tool, the beginning and the end, or using the profile tracking the teachers. But there's still to look at how, if the data that comes out from that is different. But just so, when we have used the competency survey in a baseline and end line, this is an example, I think, from Tanzania. You can see that in the beginning level, this is where the teachers were. And then the end level, you see that some have floated up even from beginning up to proficient, from the beginning to development, and some are kind of staying at the beginning level. Those who are proficient, you see some have even dropped the level. So you can see here that, of course, that the teacher training might not have hit and served all the teachers, or they have now a better understanding of what their level is. Because in the beginning, they think that I've been a teacher for 15 years, I know my things, I am proficient, that's for sure. But after a while, when you have gone through the training, you might have understood that I didn't understand it. So you see that some teachers might even have dropped. But we, of course, to understand that in depth, you need to have different additional maybe interviews or tests and so on to kind of see if that's what was the reason why they dropped. And of course, when we have head teacher and students input, we can triangulate the data. So, and that is quite important for some studies too, so that we are able to do that. I just very shortly will also highlight this, the TICC, Teacher in Crisis Context. And I think that many of you are working also in challenging crisis-affected countries and areas. And TICC has a working group working on how to use these materials, and they all also include lesson observation tools, and how to do peer coaching sessions and evaluating. And I think there's an open community of practice of practitioners who all discuss the tools that they are using here as well. And so a lot of this is work in progress, but I think that this is also a source of very good materials. This is where you see where the peer coaching for primary school teachers in crisis context. After peer coaching, you will get into more of the assessment stage together with the teachers, with classroom observation and teaching and learning cycles. And this is part of the process of professional development. So, before I end, I just wanted to kind of conclude with this slide, is that yes, we have tools available. We have lesson observation tools that some are done at the national level, some are global tools that we use in many countries, together with teacher surveys. For us, we use teacher competency surveys, but it's many different ways of understanding teachers more in depth. And then maybe also to add on the very valuable input of understanding what the learners actually have learned. So together that will help us understand the teachers and the quality of teachers. And that with all of these elements, we also get enough input to provide a better teacher professional development for our teachers. So that was all for me. Thank you for your attention. Just want to say, always remember to keep it simple when we're doing measurement of teachers. We know that the teachers are doing a very good job We want to improve it, but but keep it simple. So so that we don't take too much of the valuable time of teachers teaching, and also measure what you treasure, where you can ask and ask and ask and ask and get data on everything, but is it really what we actually need? So keep it simple and measure what you treasure, also for the teachers. Yep, thank you.